Okay, so I am going to walk you quickly through some of the lab calculations from yesterday. First, we need to figure out our theoretical yield of salt. Just a quick note here, I am going to be using numbers that are larger than what you actually used in lab. For instance, I have 18 grams of baking soda. You should have had closer to half a gram. So your numbers should not be the same as mine, but the process will be the same. So that's our starting number here, 18 grams of sodium bicarbonate. And our first step is going to be to find the molar mass of sodium bicarbonate. So you can go ahead and pause the video if you want to do that for yourself. Of course, all we need to do is go ahead and add everything up from the periodic table. So we're going to look for sodium, hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. Do not forget to multiply that oxygen by 3 because of that subscript there. And this should come out to about 84.01 grams per mole of sodium bicarbonate. Because we're starting with grams on top, we want that number to go on bottom, and we're going to have our 1 mole on top. The next step, we're going to use our mole ratio. Now, this comes from our balanced equation, so that was the equation that was written on the lab tables yesterday. If you didn't write it down for yourself, you're going to want to write the equation out. But we know that we had a 1-to-1 ratio. So we are going to have 1 mole of sodium bicarbonate on bottom compared to 1 mole of sodium chloride on top. So that's our salt that we're looking for. And our last step is going to be to use the molar mass of sodium chloride to convert back to grams. So again, go ahead and pause the video here if you want to calculate that molar mass for yourself. Okay, so that molar mass should come out to about 58.44 grams per mole. Unlike last time where we had the grams on bottom, we want our grams to go on top because we are starting from moles of sodium chloride. We want to cross out moles this time. Okay, and that's our final step. So now all you need to do is multiply everything on the top of our equation together, multiply everything on the bottom together, and divide those two numbers. Go ahead and crunch those numbers in your calculator. And we should end up with 12.52 grams of sodium chloride. This is our theoretical yield. This is what we should end up with at the end of our experiment. So I went in with 18 grams baking soda. I should be able to get 12.52 grams of sodium chloride out. Again, your yield will be lower because you're not starting with 18 grams. So the next thing we need to do, we need to figure out the percent yield of salt. So in my experiment, I actually went in and was able to collect 10.23 grams of salt. That would be my actual yield. It's what I actually got out of my experiment when I did this in lab. For you, this would be your mass of salt that you weighed at the end of your experiment. So we are going to take that number, our mass of salt, 10.23 grams of sodium chloride, put that on top. We are going to divide it by our theoretical yield. So for me, that was 12.52 grams of sodium chloride. And we're going to multiply by 100 to get a percent. So I should have ended up with 81.7% yield. Not a great yield, not a terrible yield. It's okay. Whatever you get for your yield is okay. Just make sure you explain it. So I know a lot of groups had trouble with the salt when it started to get towards the end, kind of popping, and you would end up with some splatter, some salt that kind of fell out of the crucible. That's okay. Explain what happened. So I hope this helped, and good luck writing your lab reports.